Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. Today I have my RECCE Patrol Rig 2.0 and I'm going to be running through the entire loadout for you today. Folks, if you remember my L.B.E. overload video where I first introduced the whole idea of my RECCE Patrol Rig, it was pretty much the beginning of summer. It's gone through a lot of different experimental loadouts in that time. I had one that I thought was pretty good, and that turned out to be version 1. Now, I was able to get out and do a lot of patrolling and stuff with it, so I didn't exactly like a lot of the things that are in it. So I was able to tweak a few things and remove a few others. And it's still a work in progress. As a matter of fact, what I would like for you to do is to get yourself a notepad and a pen and take some notes as I go through this loadout today. Any ideas that you have, I'd like to hear about it. If there are things you think are unnecessary, let me know. If there are things that you think I should add, definitely let me know. There's a few things that I'm not happy with, and I'll share that with you. A few things I think work pretty well, and those things I will probably stick with. Now, if you remember from the L.B.E. overload video, I pretty much had the configuration of all the pouches exactly the way they are now, and it worked beautifully. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a real quick rundown of what you can see on the exterior, and then we'll break the individual pouches down and let you see what the loadout is. I started everything on the Eagle Industries H-harness as my chassis for everything, and on both sides they are symmetrical. Both sides I have a 100 round saw pouch, 200 round saw pouches, Mystery Ranch water bottle pouch, and I'll swing this around in a minute to show you the back. Now on the harness itself, I have a very simplified version of the Sidewinder Streamlight flashlight, and I absolutely love this thing. It's about 1/4 the price as the regular Sidewinder, and it's super simple. The other one, I have one, and yes, it's a great light, but this one here suits my needs perfectly for just most standard operations. And if I need an IR light, then I can pull my other Sidewinder out, and because I always have that on my person, and utilize that. Over on this side, I have a Gerber strong arm, and I have that 550 corded to the harness, and I have a magazine pouch that I was able to rig onto the exterior of the strong arm sheath, which has a Leatherman in there. I'll show you that here in a second. Let's go ahead and roll this around and show you the back. On the back of the harness, and the small of my back and the very back, is the Fire Force gear butt pack. This is probably one of the finest variations of a butt pack that I have ever seen, and I am so grateful to be able to own this and to use it. This is absolutely fantastic. And above it, mounted on the back where normally a hydration bladder would go, I have a sustainment pouch, just a standard Molly sustainment pouch. Now let's take a look at what's inside. Now the front left of the rig will change. The 100 round saw pouch that's on it right now may or may not be there depending on which firearm I'm choosing to carry with me when I utilize this rig. If I'm using my AR-15, this will stay right where it is. Fits 4 20 round AR magazines perfectly, and I actually prefer using 20 round magazines. When you are firing prone, the 20 round magazine only extends beneath the magazine well on the lower receiver, the same length as the grip. If I decide I want to carry a sidearm, I have a holster, and once I mount the holster, I have 2 more MOLLE webbings for additional magazines. Now, so far, I have not had any problem whatsoever extracting the 20 round magazines, but if and when I decide that it is not working as well as I want, I have multitudes of these magazine pulls that I can put on those. I also have some of the base plates for the 20-round magazines that I can utilize as well. Between the two, I actually prefer these. You get a much better grip to be able to extract them. Immediate to the left of the 100-round saw pouch, I have my Gerber Strong Arm. And the Gerber Strong Arm, the sheath comes with a lot of different options on how to mount it to your belt, how to carry it. A lot of options. However, none of them worked particularly well with this particular rig. So I wound up using 550 cord to tie it through the molly webbing, and it's is much more secure, much better balanced, and it stays put. Whereas the other items that came with the strong arm sheath really didn't do the job very well. And the nice thing about the strong arm sheath is that the sheath is completely ambidextrous. So depending on how I choose to extract it, however I feel it works best, whether I'm reaching across with my right hand or I'm pulling it from the left-hand side. After a lot of different use, a lot of time in the field, I'll be able to determine that. On the exterior of it, I was able to use some webbing and fashioned a way to where I could mount a magazine pouch. And inside that, I have a Leatherman multi-tool, which keeps both of my blades exactly together. They're exactly the same location, and it conserves space, and I don't have to go through any of the other pouches to get to that. And it's very, very convenient. Moving to the left once again is a 200-round saw pouch, and this is my IFAK, extended IFAK. This contains not just an IFAK, but other things that would be important for first aid and the treatment of first aid. Now, I used a piece of maroon 550 cord to mark this as my first aid pouch. Most of the time you'll see some type of very, very bright red. I didn't really care for that. This is the only hint of red on my entire rig, which that's going to be sufficient enough to show someone that yes, this is the medical bag. Now we'll open this up, and right here we have a packet of multiple things. This is to help treat for shock and trauma. There is an emergency space blanket in there, and this is the one that's issued by the U.S. Air Force, or at least it was a long time ago when I first got this. And so there's all kinds of survival information that's on this. It's super lightweight Mylar, and it's the one that they used to issue, standard issue. I don't exactly know what they use now. Now, in addition to that, I have an 18-hour 2-pack of hand warmers and hot hands. And that right there would be able to keep someone relatively warm if they're starting to go into shock, or having to deal with injuries while the temperature is low. Right here. Also, if you notice, I have everything vacuum sealed. I don't want anything getting wet, possibly getting damaged by any type of moisture. And if I need it, I can rip right into it. And if by any chance my teeth can't rip into it, I've got my Gerber Strong Arm right here for my multiplier. I always have several blades with me to be able to open these up. This is a cat tourniquet, and right in beside there, here I have a packet of wet wipes, and this is to help clean up minor wounds, kills 99% of germs. Just a quick and easy way. It's not quite as stingy as alcohol, but it definitely can clean up a minor wound for you to be able to treat it, put a bandage on it, whatever you need to do. And this is the standard military issue IFAK. It has quick clock gauze, it has quick clock packing. It has the Israeli bandage. It has surgical tape. Anything that you would find in a standard IFAK is in here, including the airway passage. Again, all of this vacuum sealed to protect it. Now, this is probably the most complicated item I have in here, and this is my boo-boo kit. Now, in my boo-boo kit, I have anything that you would have for standard first aid. I have Band-Aids, I have sterile wipes, I have different types of medications, ibuprofen, anti-diarrheal, minor gauze, earplugs, more sinus medication. I also have super glue, and the super glue nozzle is in here as well. I have Neosporin. I have a decent set of tweezers to be able to remove splinters, thorns, and the like. Salves and ointments, more bandages. Here's the top to the super glue. Super glue is fantastic to be able to use as makeshift sutures. And this is a lighter that's wrapped with blister tape. This is a tape that is specifically designed to be able to put over blisters. It's an athletic development, and I have some of that rolled around here. And if by any chance I need to lance or pop into a blister to drain it, I have another container with a sewing kit in it with a needle, and I can sanitize the needle with the flame, and then it also works as a decent spool for the tape. Now, if you notice, the boo-boo kit is not vacuum sealed. The reason being is this will probably be used much more frequently than any of the other things. Prayerfully, none of these items will ever need to be used, but they're there just in case. Also, the wet wipes, they're also in a Ziploc bag. I also have a pair of EMS shears, and they're in here as well. One of the problems I had in my version 1 were these saw pouches. They're reinforced on the insides. However, they bulged out and would not facilitate for a very smooth carry of these items because it was such a large pouch, and the item that goes in here normally is a rigid box. Because there was no rigidity here, it would bulge out, would be round, things would shift, things would, would get in a position to where, if things were really, really rough going as far as the train and stuff goes, there's a possibility that some of those items could have actually come out through the sides. I did not like that at all, so I created a rigid panel. It's L-shaped, so this rests in the bottom. This is in the front. I just made it out of one of the corrugated polystyrene political signs. They're laying all over the place right now. And I taped off the ends because those ends can be quite sharp, and I didn't want to damage the pouch and or get it positioned to where I was going to give myself a nasty cut reaching into it. And because that is rigid, I'm able to put everything in it and maintain the position of everything exactly the way I want it all the time. And I could have done a complete box to slide in here, and but I decided, well, I'll try this, and if this works out okay, well, that's a whole lot less work, and so far it seems to be doing a job. And I was a little concerned about the noise, the noise is negligible. You really have to put some force into hitting that before it makes any noise whatsoever. That is my IFAK. Now the water bottle and the pouch, these are absolutely identical. The only difference is the size and the shape of the water bottle cup, which is contained therein. I ran this for a while with no water bottle cup, and I found it difficult to be able to, with one hand, be able to put the water bottle back in this pouch. And if it's further up on my hip, I can hold it with two hands, but when I'm reaching back with one and I pull this back to slide it in, it just wasn't working out real well. So I have a couple of these water bottles, cups. This one I believe is a Pathfinder cup, and they're both stainless steel that I have in there now. I want to switch those over to titanium. I do have one titanium water bottle cup, and I'm using it for another rig at the moment. But I'm going to be switching those over to titanium. The Dave Canterbury Pathfinder water bottle cup is lighter weight than the oil camp cup that I have and the other one over here. And but the titanium is just to make it a lot easier. And I also have two vessels that I would be able to boil water if I needed to in an emergency situation. But both water bottle and water bottle pouch configurations are identical. Now I had switched over to the right front, which is another 100 round saw pouch. And this is pretty much my rapid access admin pouch. It has my Right in the Rain folder. I'll show you more of the stuff that's in there in just a few minutes. I have my GI Linsthetic compass, lanyard to the actual rig itself, the harness, and the last thing I have in there is a Streamlight headlamp. The one thing I love about this particular headlamp, it was designed specifically for the military. It will fit on my fast helmet with no problem whatsoever on the rails. It has an IR, it has a red light, it has different settings as far as the white light goes. It also has a blue light, and blue light is absolutely fantastic for utilizing when you're tracking game, and you can see the blood trail much easier. But you can switch it over to infrared and to be able to have different intensities of infrared light if you're using any type of night vision. Let's take a look and see what I have in my little admin folder here. You know, standard Right in the Rain notebook, and these are fantastic because they always have all kinds of added information that's in here for quick reference. Even has ruling devices that's really good for map reading, map interpretation, and also for just measuring. On the other side, I have a Right in the Rain pen. I have a Right in the Rain mechanical pencil. I have spare lead for the pencil, and Sharpie. Sharpies are good, fantastic for everything, especially if by any chance you're in a situation you have to use your IFAK. The Sharpie will write on just about anything. You can write on the forehead of the individual any information that somebody else is going to do follow-up treatment to that individual to see. And behind that, there's a little pocket. I believe that's everything in there. I have a flat, pocket-sized magnifying glass, and just a couple differences from RECCE, basic first aid card, and this is a basic pro knot, which most of this stuff, you know, I don't need anymore because I have those knots memorized, but I carry them around just in case
And also, I may not be the only person that would need this when I'm out. And if I was not in great shape and I needed to instruct someone on how to actually tie a knot, then I could just tell them to go to my pouch, pull out my notebook cover, and look in the pocket. Those are the items that go in my admin pouch. Now, immediately to the right of my admin pouch is my little simplified Sidewinder angle head streamlight. Pops off super easy, but because of the way that the clip is designed, it stays in place. You have to pull it back, push it through. You can do it one-handed. It's no problem whatsoever. You have two different light modes on this simply by sliding the little filter over in place, and it goes to different light intensities. And very small, very convenient. And the best thing about it is I can relocate this to my chest harness straps if I need to be able to put it in a position where I'm, trying to read my map, trying to get orientation from that. And so it has much more versatility than the larger counterpart. Now, this is pretty much what I call my Recon pouch. And I have it configured exactly the same way as the other 200-round saw pouch with that rigid support system that's in it. We're going to break this down one item at a time. This is a bundle of cordage and could be used for all kinds of things. I can use different types of cordage that is in here for different types of things. If I want to do a terrain board, things like that, I can line everything out with these. But cordage is something that you always want to have, definitely part of the 10Cs, and to have a variety. I have two different sizes of bank line, and I can also make trip lines, snares, what have you out of those, and just a small section, I believe that's 30 yards of 550 cord. And a little pouch I made for it. And we have snacks. This is very, very high protein, high calorie nutrition bars. And the reason that they're in Ziploc bags is that I discovered that the packaging that they come in actually makes a lot of noise. I tried taping them down, and by nature of them not being vacuum sealed in those packages, I couldn't find a way to make them quiet. Even though that sounds like it makes noise, when it's in the pouch, you cannot hear it. So I have a variety of snacks in there. The whole purpose of this is a 72-hour rig, and I want to rely heavily on hand-to-mouth food, just eat and go nutrition as much as I possibly can. Right here I have another necessity, which are combat wipes, and this is for the loo, and this is much faster and easier for me to access than the other wipes, and these are actually designed for your bum. I have a pack of alcohol pens for my maps. I have a camo compact and a camouflage stick for if I really need to get camoed up to do some deep recon. This is a Vortex 8x36 solo monocular. And I'll insert the image of the sight reticle that's in this. Now, I was struggling with what to use for this particular mission for observations. I had a small set of binoculars, and they were okay. They were only a six power magnification. This is 8. And I honestly think it just took up too much space. It was an awkward shape for the pouch. And so I had to get creative with how I was going to put other things in and around it. The other problem is I wanted a rangefinder. And so when I started looking at the shape and the sizes of rangefinders in combination with the binoculars, I just thought that was a lot of stuff. And so this Solo RT 8x36 by Vortex does it all. It has a built-in range-finding reticle that's inside of it. And the reason I want to go with an 8 power is because that is exactly the same magnification power that is on the Vortex optic that is on my rifle. And so this is absolutely fantastic. I don't know whether or not I'm going to retain the belt clip on there or not. And I have not yet decided whether or not I'm going to dummy cord it with a lanyard. And here we have a signaling mirror. And this right here, it can be used for a lot of other sources other than using as a signal mirror. You can definitely use it to apply your camouflage face paint, and will work out pretty well. But the nice thing about this is, especially if you're working in a team, you can utilize something like this as long as the weather permits it to communicate back and forth, so that way you're not having to rely on radio transmissions or any other type of communications. Here in the very bottom, I have padded, and the reason it's padded this way, I made this out of a section of an old folding U.S. Marine Corps sleep mat, is that these are all the spare batteries for all the different electronics that I need, with the exception of my radio. And this makes noise. This makes noise. I could not tolerate how much noise this made in this pouch. So I put it in here. You have a little tiny little bit of noise, but it muffles it down, and since it's in the very bottom of the pouch and weight is on there, it's silent when I'm maneuvering. I have a small, it was made by Uncle Mike's to adjust the Velcro in their holsters. And oh my gosh, this has got to be 20 years old, but it's got a ruler on there. But the thing I like to use it for is to help insert and extract molly webbing. And I have my map case and a protractor. This protractor has measurements in every scale of map that I would ever have access to, civilian and military. So this protractor is an absolutely fantastic tool. And I didn't find many like this when I was shopping around. I saw a lot of the military standard ones, but that's it. Other than that, the map case is quite basic, quite standard, and nothing fancy. And those are the items that I have in my Recon pouch. Now this would be the contents of my Fire Force butt pack. And the one thing that I do with all of my cinch cords is, even though you have a cord lock on them, a barrel lock, I still always do a slip knot in there just to keep it in place. It also keeps it from dangling around quite a bit. Now, in here I have yet even more snacks, and these right here have not been removed from the packaging, but will be when I get ready to go out with them. And more snacks, more snacks. These were actually vacuum sealed, and they actually make much less noise. I love to sub-compartmentalize things. Now this is one of the multiple Tough Possum gear pouches that I have, and I absolutely love to sub-compartmentalize all of my stuff. Not only do I love to sub-compartmentalize my things, but I love to sub-compartmentalize things that I've sub-compartmentalized. And you'll see that in a second. Now, one of my goals with this rig is to have a good, solid, maybe even extended 10 C's of survivability kit built in with the mission-specific purpose of reconnaissance. So this is touching a lot of the bases of my 10 C's. And in this is marked with a maroon piece of paracord to identify it as my fire kit. In my fire kit, I have some of my homemade fire starters, which I will hold these up against any store-bought fire starter. And these things work fantastic. They burn for a long period of time. They burn very hot, and pennies to produce per, as opposed to up to $1 a piece for some fire starters. Now, this is a sub-compartmentalized item that was sub-compartmentalized, and it's an old sock. This is what you can do with some of those orphaned socks that make it through the wash, that their twin is now nowhere to be found. This does two things. It sub-compartmentalizes, but it also helps keep these items quiet when they're in your pack. I have a pocket bellows and a Pathfinder survival ferromecium rod, and I have a striker on there. And the nice thing about this is I can tear off a section of one of my fire starters and slide it on the interior, and it will stay waterproof, but it also has a built-in compass, which is really nice. That would be an excellent little tool. If I needed to, I could pull these things out, put the fire starter in there, throw it in my pocket, and go. Now, the last thing I have in my fire kit. Now, my intentions are to never have a fire when I'm conducting reconnaissance, ever, of any type. However, if I make a fire, I want to make a fire. And I want to have 100% certainty in doing so, and having redundancy in the types of ways I can produce fire is absolutely beneficial. I discovered these a few years ago, and I'll be doing a review on these. This is a brand new one that I haven't been playing with, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's made by Zippo, completely waterproof, hard container, but these are storm matches. Look at the size of those things. Wait till you see the review on these. I mean, they're unbelievable as far as a fire making apparatus. And that goes into the main compartment, and there are extra self-adhesive striker pads that you can use when your striker pad fails or begins to fail. And the striker pad is on this side in a watertight area. So that am the bomb. And of course, there's little areas for lanyards, but you'll find out all the specifics on a review on those. Now, continuing on with 10 C's of survivability, I have this is a sling, GI issue sling, 100% cotton bandana. Here I have two different types of duct tape. I have Gorilla tape, and I have 1,000-mile-an-hour tape, just olive drab duct tape. And one side I have, and I use a little piece of foam to silence it with, I have a spool of OD tripwire. And on the other side, I have an emergency sewing kit. And this is a 5-strand waxed linen thread. You can break those down to individual strands to do fine sewing with, or heavy duty sewing with the 5 strands in place. I have some mule tape which I discovered, and this stuff is phenomenal. I have two different lengths of strands here, but this is so strong. If you need to support a tremendous amount of weight, that's what you go to. And a couple different strands at different lengths of 550 cord. I have zip ties. I think those are 18-inch zip ties. I think I have 8 of those in there, and a Baco Laplander. So a lot of the tools that you would normally have in your bushcrafting kit, they're all located in here. Again, focusing on the 10 C's of survivability. I'm going to put these back in here and get back to the butt pack and show you the remaining items that are in it. The remaining items that are in my butt pack. These are Smart Wool heavy duty hiking socks, and foot powder is in here as well. I don't know how well you can see that. I have a heavy duty space blanket. And this is my radio equipment. Everything in one little package: spare battery, the radio, standard antenna, extended antenna, and headset. Now, I am going to be picking up something called a Faraday bag from Alpha and Omega Supply. Things got absolutely crazy with the channel not long ago, and just prior to everything going crazy, I talked with Alpha and Omega Supply and contacted them. I have to get the dimensions of the Faraday bags that I need in order to have them construct those for me, and that will be a future video. But I am getting a Faraday bag for all of my electronic stuff to keep in, and that will go in the butt pack where my radio equipment went. And one more item I did not see from my vantage point, and this is an emergency kit. If things go horribly south and I need to be rescued, need to be extracted, or I'm with someone that does, this right here is what I put together for an emergency rescue kit. And that consists of a beacon, a white light beacon. It goes and at night that's pretty bright. And this is actually a little backpack that I can also use as a marker panel, and also be able to use to carry any type of provisions, emergency supplies I need to a designated area in order to have an individual extracted. I also have the 18-hour hand warmers. These are the heavier ones. These would be in addition to the IFAK items I have, and I have 2 Orion flares. Burn super bright, and these burn for signal for bright red for 5 minutes, and you can pick these up just about any decent boating supply place. And these items are what I have assembled for my emergency extraction kit. Now, the last item we're going to be looking at is the contents of the Sustainment pouch. Now, this Sustainment pouch was designed primarily for use in warmer weather, mid to late spring through early fall, and we've already passed that. So what would happen with this in the cooler months is that would be removed and left flat, left blank on the back of the harness, and a smaller day pack or patrol pack would be worn with more extensive colder weather equipment in it. But the way I have this configured is just on the inside. In the handle of the bag that I keep my Swagman roll in is my OPSEC poncho. So wet weather gear, shelter. I have my Swagman roll, and having that grab handle is really, really convenient no matter what kind of a pack or container that you're transporting this in. Also, in toward the bottom is more food. I have beef jerky, I have protein bars, I have Cliff bars, all kinds of ways to get tremendous amounts of energy and not taking time to make fires, to cook, or anything else like that. In addition to these items, I have enough room in the bottom to have about 3, possibly 4 main entrees from MREs. That way, you know, further sustaining your necessity for sustenance. And but this worked out absolutely fantastic on the back, and definitely for the warmer months, I think this is going to be a decent rig. Now I need to go ahead and configure the patrol pack that I'm going to be using for it in the cooler months. Well, folks, there you have it. The complete loadout from my RECCE Patrol Rig. There's a couple items I'm still looking at toward adding to this, one of which is night vision. Through what I have had the opportunity to use and what I've researched, I basically found out that anything less than about $1,000, I'm looking at different qualities of toys. They do not work well, they are not made well, and they are not capable of providing me what I would need in a reconnaissance role. However, when I was looking at the prices, I'm looking at like a minimum price tag for something that would be good quality, good capabilities, things that would be good, not great, but good. And I'm looking at the neighborhood between $2,000 to $5,000. I can't do that. I can't make that investment right now. And so I started looking at other options. One of the other options that I found, which to me at this point seems to be much more appealing than good quality night vision, and that is infrared. I've located a Monocular produced by FLIR, and it is good quality. I'm able to actually record and take still photographs with the Monocular, and it's, like I said, it's good quality. The one reason I'm leaning more toward infrared is that is something that I can use day or night. I can see through things with that. It doesn't give me X-ray vision, but if there's a heat signature behind a cluster of bushes that I cannot see through, and if it's you know, camouflage, I can still see the heat signature. And the quality I'm looking at is going to be running right around, I looked at it about a month ago, $1,200. Now the exact same product is $1,400. And with the demand, I'm looking at, you know, those prices actually going up. So the possibility of getting one anytime soon is pretty much slim to none. We'll see how things go toward February. looking at toward income tax return time and seeing what the prices are there. But the idea of using the infrared monocular, it's small, it's compact, it does a good job. I can use it day or night. I can film with it, I can take still photographs with it, and a variety of different modes. And some of the modes, I mean, really remind me a lot of the appearance that I remember seeing and the quality of night vision that I used when I was in the Army 30 plus years ago. Anyway, folks, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.